Welcome back to Electric Cafe. My name is Tim Humphrey. Today's video is an album review on the Mission's 1986 album, God's Own Medicine. For those that don't know, the Mission, be hard to press not to know this information, but it's important to give a little bit of background on the Mission. So, obviously, a couple of the members from the Mission originally started with Sisters of Mercy and had their first album in 1985 called First, Last, and Always under the name Sisters of Mercy. And, there was some tension between the band, and they, for whatever reason, they didn't get along. I'm sure Andrew Elrich can, from what I've all seen and heard, he could be a difficult person to get along with. And so the guys from who ended up coming in the Mission, they really just decided to take off and start their own band. And just during that year, I guess Andrew heard that they were gonna name their band the Sisterhood, and Andrew made an album real quick under the name Sisterhood called The Gift and released it in 1986 and sort of took that name away from him. And so in a strange way, they ended up becoming the Mission. And it started out as Mission UK, and then ended up becoming the Mission. So this is a first pressing here of Mission UK, and then later on, they took off the UK part, and it was just the Mission. This particular one also had the band's pictures as well on the back, which was cool. But they had a really good start. This is somewhat of a seminal album when it comes to goth music, goth rock. This is a highly regarded album. I think I first probably heard this album sometime in the early 90s. Can't remember what year it was. I'm a huge Sisters of Mercy fan. If you see my review on Floodland, it's been my top. Now that I was starting to actually review albums, so far in the goth, industrial, and EBM genre, it's been the highest rated album that I've rated so far. I give it a 90. I think it was 92 out of 100, and just an awesome album. And the differences between Sisters of Mercy and Mission is the reason why I like Sisters of Mercy more than the Mission. It's just the electronic drummer versus the regular drummer. I feel like Andrew's voice is a little bit better than Wayne Hussey's on the Mission. I like the more moody, atmospheric, electronic side of Sisters of Mercy versus the Mission, and also I like the kind of vague lyrics when it comes to Andrew Elrich and Sisters of Mercy. They're vague lyrics compared to the Mission. A lot of times they sing about love and stuff like that, and not that there's anything wrong with singing about that, but it's it's just I find the Sisters of Mercy content just a little bit more different and otherworldly and just almost untouchable as far as just being different and unique and sort of cool. I kind of made a comment when I was thinking about the music and what I kind of pictured like the Mission is versus like Sisters of Mercy, and forgive me for comparing the two. I know they're different bands, but they're always tied to the hip. And I feel like if you were to picture Mission as a band, the Mission are riding horses through the desert looking for love. Like that's what I feel like they are in like 1870s. Some like goth transplants, riding horses through the desert looking for love. Like Sisters of Mercy are like they're driving a hot rod on the highway looking for cocaine. Like that's the way I feel about Sisters of Mercy, the power of Sister Mercy versus the Mission. It sounds like an old school Western goth, versus Sisters of Mercy is like a high octane, futuristic, but there's some retro sounding there too. But it's just like Yeah, it sounds like Sisters of Mercy all hopped up on cocaine, and driving a hot rod versus these guys are riding horses. You know what I mean? It's just like the difference of the sort of the ambiance that I would see of the band if you were to picture the band like walking into a room like the Mission. I feel like we're just getting off of horses, and Andrew Elrich is like looking for, I don't know what he's looking for, but you know what I mean. He has that look like he just kind of got off a major bender, where the Mission kind of look like they're they just want to drink and play some cards or something like that. It's just kind of the aesthetic that I have for the band. Um, but yeah, getting back to the Mission, there's lots of strong songs on here. Some of my favorite songs are Wasteland and The Dance Goes On. Obviously, Severine is a great track. Dance on the Glass. A lot of really good tracks on here. Everything as far as the band is really solid. I don't think anything really sticks out. Like, I hate to compare him again to Sisters of Mercy, but Andrew voices really sticks out. The drum machine really sticks out. If they have a singer on there, it really sticks out. If they have an atmosphere or some kind of like sound on there that's unique, it kind of sticks out. Like the Missionaries sound like a rock band. Um, Nothing really like sticks out, or there's no really member that really takes the lead. Everything's like tight, and nothing is concerning at all, and nothing is like I would think is like outstanding. I do think their overall sound is pretty much textbook goth rock in some ways. Maybe not your Christian Death, or maybe the ideal goth rock to me, but they're kind of more I don't know, again, more like a country rock band, like a goth country rock band. And I say that lightly because you look at the differences of like Christian Death and the Mission, and you know what I mean. Like how how do you say what's the difference between the two? It's like it's almost like a movie goth versus this is more like a traditional goth. I feel like this is very of the time, even more so than some of the other stuff that was in the 80s. Uh, as far as like the quality of the audio on this particular LP, I think that is a little bit of a concern when I think of like 1986. Although it's not too much different than First, Last, and Always. Well, it kind of is. But when you look at like Floodland, like there I go comparing the two again. But um, the the album is recorded very thin. In fact, you hardly ever hear a bass line on there. It's just. But then again, it is kind of the typical kind of goth rock where it is kind of a lot of times a post punk and goth rock. There's like a that Joy Division sort of sound where it's kind of thin. But I think when I think of goth rock, I think of it more of a little bit more of a garage band than, and I say that lightly as a garage band, a little bit more of a garage band than say a post punk band that is like a Joy Division, which is more doesn't really. I don't think their persona really fits the mold of the sound as much as a lot of times, as far as like goth sort of sounding like it's kind of um, you know uh, kind of vintage, kind of almost has like a vintage sound, right? Sometimes the lyrics can be a little cheesy on the Mission, but they were on a roll in their early career. They first came out with this one, which is probably my favorite record they ever did. This EP, it's got Serpents and the Kiss, uh, Wake, and Naked and the Savage. I don't understand why these tracks didn't make the album. I think these were done around the same year, 1986. Just says no October of '85, so this one came out in '86. So I'm not sure why. I mean, they had enough good songs to make a full album. Don't get me wrong, but it's strange that these tracks aren't on the this album. I don't have Mission 2, but Mission 3. the title track, or not the title track, but the first track is "Stay With Me," and that is on this record. So it's strange that 1 and 2 aren't aren't on this album, but then they put "Stay With Me" on this album. Um, I find that interesting, but I think what's really important is if you don't know this one right here, is make sure you get this. If you're interested in this, or you got this and you like this, don't forget to get this one. Because this does have Naked and the Savage, Serpent's Kiss, and Wake. But it also has 7 other songs that that aren't on here. And again, it came out basically the year after, in '87. It says '86 on here /87, so maybe even the same year as this. But don't forget these if you're into the Mission and you really like their early stuff. Don't forget to get those, because that really balances out this to be an amazing period of and a lot of quality and a good 20-25 songs. When I come into this album, as far as like the songs, there's 10 songs. Wasteland is my favorite song on the album. It's 4 stars all day. It's probably the only other 4-star song that I would give for Mission would be Serpent's Kiss. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any other 4-star song that I would get that I think is an excellent song from the Mission. There's a lot of very good songs on here. In fact, I have 6 of the 10 tracks very good, and then 1 excellent, which is a really strong rating when you think of 7 over the 10 tracks over 3 stars in my rating system. I really like the good tempo in Wasteland. Like when the Mission have a good tempo in this type of song, I feel like they do a good job of nailing the song. Like Severina has that. Love Me to Death sort of has a good pace. I just feel like they're in the right pacing and tempo. They do a really good version. They do really good songs in that particular tempo. I really like the guitar and the vocal in Wasteland too. Just really strong song. 4 stars. Yeah. Bridges Burning, not as good as 2.25 stars. It's a good song. Garden of Delight. I may not like this one as much as other people do. I think it's 3 stars, but I couldn't give it much more than that. It can be a little bit corny, as is the next track, Stay With Me, which I gave 2.75 stars. It's a good song. Again, I may not like it as much as other people. These 2 are good examples of when the Mission can be a little corny and the lyrics and stuff like that. And I don't say corny like that hurts the score. Like I'm saying, oh, this is corny stuff. But you know what I mean. It's not like I like the Mission in other styles of their songs more often than these type of sort of ballad songs. I'm not knocking any points because I feel like some are corny. I don't mind a bit of corniness. Let Sleeping Dogs Lie, 2.5 stars. And then the really second half of the album is even stronger than that. I mean, the first half of the album is averaging almost a 3-star out of 5. The second half is averaging well over 3. Sacrilege, I got 3.25 stars. This is more of a complete song, adds a keyboard, some good changes. The last minute or so really completes the song. More pronounced guitars on this. I like the layering. It almost sounds like it's on First, Last, and Always. Comes from that album. Yeah, 3.25 stars. Dance on the Glass, I like even better. 3.5 stars. Nice atmosphere, more melody, more music focused here. So I do really like this track. And then even stronger, 3.75 stars. And the Dance Goes On. Good rhythm, guitars are cool. This is the first track you can actually sort of hear a bass line that sounds good in the mix. Like it's strange how there's so many songs that are that really you can hardly hear you can hear the bass, but it's not moving you, it's not powerful. It's way back in the mix. It's purposely done too, don't get me wrong. It's not that the drums aren't fantastic either as far as the production of the drums either, but The bass even feels farther in the back as far as like you can't, you know what I mean? Like it's not until this track where I was like, oh, this is a cool bass line, you know. 3 3/4 stars. Severina, 3.5 stars, really good track. And then Love Me to Death, 3 1/4 stars. A good end of the album, strong guitar work, good pace, really good stuff. I think overall I got 31 3/4 stars divided by 10 songs is a 3.17. Really strong album, you know. I gave it overall I gave it a 73 out of 100. So it's a couple points over the almost in the middle of very good on the way to excellent. Um, I think it's if there was a couple more tracks in the 4 star range, I feel like this could have got to an excellent album for the genre. I don't think it's quite there yet, so that's why I have it in very good. But it's really close. I mean, it's a song. It's an album you can play whether you're into rock music or I think even electronic music. I think I'm pretty varied as far as my taste in music, and I could put on this anytime and be happy listening to this album. I think it's a strong album, and it grows. The catchiness kind of grows on you, which is good. I wish there was. I'm not a big fan of remastering. You know, it all depends on how they do it. I'm pretty particular about how they do the mastering, and still, it's when you there's no really like uh, rules on how to master things. Like some things could just you could master something as good as you want, and it still could have been. I think my mastering back in school, my mastering professor said you can do all you want to polish a turd, but it's still a turd. You know, that was his way of saying if it's not recorded right, you can master all day and do effects and do all kinds of stuff. It's not going to sound as good as if you recorded it right the first time. And that's the thing is you know is even if you remastered this album, it is pretty thin. You know what I mean? So I don't know how much power and bass you're going to get out of it, but it's not that they're a very powerful band that they're like, you know, especially for like goth and not even talking about EBM or industrial because then even more so. But they're more rock. So, but it's just not their it's not their type of music. They're not just powerful. They're more um, you know more rhythms and harmonies and melodies and I wouldn't even see melodies, but more of a traditional rock band, just being goth. Um, you know, there obviously is some melancholy in there and some sentimental and a lot of songs about love and stuff like that. You can tell by the lyrics here, like "Stay with Me," "Garden Delight," "Love Me to Death," "Severina." He's talking about a girl. You know, so there's a lot of that on here, and so I don't expect it to be like overly powerful and move you in a way like Sisters of Mercy can. Um, it's a really strong album, though. You know, I think a lot of it, and you know, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on what you would rate this album out of 100. Try to keep in mind my score. You know, it's if you don't mind looking, just check the notes and see how I score my songs. I tend to be a little bit harder on songs, but if you look at it, a 56 out of 100 is me saying it's a good album. So I just have more room for in my scoring system for levels of good albums because I'm rating all albums that I generally like for the most part. You know, I mean, rating some here and there that I don't necessarily are feel that are good. You know, but I think even those I'm pretty fair on, and my scoring system still I think is fair to those bands as well, even ones that I don't like. But yeah, that's my overall thoughts on God's Own Medicine from 1986. Really strong album, 73 out of 100. All right, thanks so much.